Hey guys, Mark from parkflyers.com. Today we're looking at a sledge that we set up for a jumper. This customer loves to jump. Now originally he brought us his car with some bent shock towers. Those were the anodized aluminum ones that come stock. What we did was we put on the M2C front and rear carbon fiber shock towers. Now these do not bend. They can crack with really extreme use, but we actually haven't seen anybody crack them yet. They're great because they're actually going and have the exact stock locations for all the screws, so everything goes back in the way it should, and it's a very clean part. Now, just to let you know, I don't make any money on M2C parts. We are not allowed to sell them as a dealer because we don't have any margin. So customers usually bring us these parts and we install them for the customer. So if you're interested, you can always contact us. So the shock towers were the first upgrade, and that is going to make sure that the shock towers don't bend. Like I said, he bent his, and it screwed up the geometry. Now that he has the carbon fiber front and rear, the geometry is going to stay the same, and the shock towers are never going to crack. The other thing he did is we went to the Max6 speed control. Now this is the G2. The cool thing about the G2 is that this is not only a 200 amp speed control, but it has built-in Bluetooth. So when you program it, you only need an app on your iPhone or your Android. You don't need any external module like you used to. So it gets rid of one less thing to have. And like I said, you don't have to spend the money on an external unit. They're coming with all their high-end speed controls, and it's a very, very nice function. We actually use the phone to program the output of this ESC to go to 7.4 volts, and that will make the servo this actually will make the servo have a lot more torque. And the Traxxas actually advertises that you can do the 2275 servo. You can crank it up to 7.4 volts. It's gonna decrease the transit time, which makes the servo faster, and it's gonna add a lot more torque. So the other thing we did with this speed control is we actually upped the punch control from 5 to 6. We don't want to go too high on that because then it ends up being undrivable. So right now this is at punch level 6. And we also did a firmware update on the speed control, which was really easy to do from the app. You click it and you just watch it update like a computer, and it's done. Now, the cool thing about this build is we save the customer money by advising him he does not have to use a Hobbywing Max motor. He can actually stick with the Traxxas motor. The only problem is you have shorter wires on this and it does not reach the speed control. So we made extensions for him, and he saved a bundle by keeping this motor. Now, when you go with this speed control and you use this motor, there is no downside to it. The one thing that's better about this speed control than the Traxxas is there's no cogging. One of the biggest thing that plagues the Traxxas sledges are cogging. You know, you start to increase the pinion size, you go from a 13 to a 14 to a 15 to a 16, and then your car just cogs out, and it really runs like actually shit, I should say. But with this Max6 speed control, you have 200 amps of power. It does not cog, and it is a really good upgrade. But like I said, you don't need to touch the motor. Just leave it alone. Have your hobby shop make extensions. If you want to come to us, we can do it for you. The other thing we put in for the customer was the M2C motor mount. It's a lot more efficient. It runs better. It runs more true. It doesn't allow the motor to kink one way, and it keeps the alignment perfect so that you don't have any problems with the alignment, and that really does wreak havoc on the motor. If you have the Traxxas mount and you don't line the motor up properly, you're going to destroy the pinion, the spur, and the motor at the same time. You have the center differential mount there, M2C. Now we also, you can't see it here that good, but there's an M2C Racing machined aluminum ESC mount. We mounted that. It's amazing. It really is. It mounts the ESC perfectly. It also leaves a spot for the on-off button, which is right here, and we love it. The other thing we went with M2C Racing shocks, all four. We did the emulsion caps with the Delrin pistons. Very, very smooth front and rear. You can't really get a smoother shock than that. The reason why I like it so much is it's $100. It doesn't break the bank, and it lets you retain the stock shocks, and you really feel like they're a much improved and a really upgraded shock without buying new shocks. It's a very smart thing that M2C does so that you can just reuse what you have. It's brilliant, actually. For the connectors on the car, stock Traxxas connectors are not going to work for a lot of people. They have a lot of resistance and they come apart. The IC5s are great. They're very easy to solder to, and they just work a lot better. The customer is going to really like this, and it's going to be a lot more durable, especially if you're jumping. There's a lot of pulling and tugging on the wires. These hold up, and they're really good. If you see, I zip tie them to the center bar. It keeps everything in line, and it prevents from pulling on a really hard jump, or if the battery ejects from here, it'll prevent from yanking on the wires and damaging your speed control. All in all, this is a really good package. It's a jumper's dream, and we think the customer, when he picks this up, is going to love it. He's definitely going to notice a difference when he drives it. This is absolutely phenomenal build. If I'm actually in the middle of putting a sledge together myself, and this is the setup that I'm probably going to go with, it's going to be close to this. I love it. I like the fact that you don't have to buy a new servo because you can up the voltage out of here. You don't have to buy a new motor because you could reuse the stock one and you get rid of the cogging. You can just put on connectors, make the car a lot more durable. And the shock towers are carbon fiber. Again, they don't break the bank, and you're getting rid of all that bending. This is the shock towers are definitely a point of bending, especially if you're doing jumps and you're a jumper. Get rid of those aluminum ones. Get these carbon fiber shock towers in your car, and you're not going to have a problem. If you're a jumper, you must balance your tires. In the middle of a jump, especially if you have big, bulky tires like this, and they're belted, they're heavy, and they're cumbersome. If you hold the car off the ground while giving throttle, you'll see that they'll wobble violently in the air. That throws the car off. It's very hard to control that in the air. We balance this customer's tires so that it has much, much better and more precise air control. It is a very big deal to do that. We do it here in the shop. If you need us to do it for you, we will do it for you, and your car will definitely jump a lot better. The air control will be much more precise. It'll be actually a lot more intuitive, and it'll be a lot more fun to drive at the same time. Anyway, again, signing off again. This is Mark from parkflyers.com. Thank you for joining us on this short review. The title of this video is Sledge, a Jumper's Dream. This is it right here. Anyway, have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.